Welcome to this, the latest in my series of YouTube videos entitled Rishi Devra, the Fantasy and the Facts. The slides you see on the screen now are pertinent to what is being said by the witness that's being interviewed, but the slides do not directly relate to what the witness is saying. So the slides will change at regular intervals, and there's information on the screens which, if you want to pause and read, is useful information. The interview is of an employee who used to work for Miss West in 2003 when she was calling herself Devra G, and the business container she was using for her guru cult extortion business was the Circle of Divine Unity. The reason for sharing this interview with you, which was recorded in 2003 by the whistleblower John Watson, is to prove categorically that though Miss West's name may change and the name of her business container may change, the mode of operation of her guru cult extortion business does not. So the whistleblower interviewed an employee called Kathleen Francisco, who was Miss West's housekeeper in 2003 and her personal assistant. Kathleen will share with us what it was like working for Miss West and how badly she and everybody else was treated by Miss West. If you pay attention going forward in the slides that come up on the screen, you'll see that there is the beginning part of an email from Rebecca West, which was posted to the whistleblower in 2007, March of 2007 to be precise, which clearly shows that Miss West's treatment of employees then in 2007 had not changed one bit since this interview with Kathleen Francisco was recorded in 2003. In 2007, Miss West's business container was called Soraya Enterprises Unlimited, Inc., and Miss West was then calling herself the Ascended Master Soraya Ma. Of course, that all fell apart after Miss West was arrested and convicted for assault, was the subject of 2 arrest warrants, was the subject in court as the defendant of a number of civil lawsuits, all fraud related, and was also the subject of a sheriff's sale to force her to pay her creditors in Montana $2 million in court fines and interest, at which point Miss West packed up her criminal roadshow and moved it to Cave Creek, Arizona, where she now operates as the Golden Flame Foundation and now calling herself the Ascended Master Rishi Devra. So the misery, the serious crimes, the lies, the deceit, the propaganda propagated by Miss West and the senior members of her cult continue. In the first excerpt, Kathleen talks about her role working for Miss West and how she was terminated with no notice. But then Miss West runs a cult, which is like a country inside a country, where the laws of the land, the laws of the US, employment laws, criminal laws, do not apply because nobody tells the authorities outside what's going on. Everybody is under a bond of secrecy enforced by Miss West through fear. So Miss West can basically do what she wants, treat people how she wants, like a medieval baron would treat his or her serfs, and that's exactly what she does, because she's a superior being and everybody working for her is basically useless eaters, I guess. That's the way she thinks of them. They are like cattle in her cult, and this comes out in this interview as we go forward in the way Miss West treats everybody. Now let us hear from Kathleen Francisco, who gave this recording to the whistleblower in 2003.
I'm Kathleen Francisco.
Okay, and you used to work for Ms. West Divine Unity, and if so, in what way?
I was a house manager, personal assistant.
Okay. Now, I don't know how long you worked there for, but tell us how long you worked there for and how you were hired and the circumstances under which you left, if you would be so kind.
I worked there for almost 3 months, just short of 3 months. I was hired through a series of interview process with Cindy Beeman and then taken over to meet Devra West, who then hired me immediately.
Okay. And
my termination was yesterday.
Okay.
October 4th.
4th. Yeah, Friday.
At about 8 o'clock in the morning.
Did you get proper notice?
No. I walked into work as a normal day, started taking, action on my duties of the day, was confronted by Esther Michaels, who then proceeded to yell and scream at me about a dinner that I had prepared for them the night before, and then told me that the days I had authorized and requested off had been taken away by Devra West.
All right. This has happened before, has it?
Yes.
With you asking for days off and then at the last minute them being denied?
Yes.
Have I got that right?
Mm-hmm.
In the next excerpt, Kathleen talks about some of the things she witnessed while she was working with Miss West, which including mental and physical abuse, and the obvious brainwashing and conditioning of employees and students as Miss West sought to force each of them to submit to her will as a prelude to emptying their bank accounts or forcing them to work as slave labour envelope stuffers for her.
Okay. So talk a little bit about the conditions under which you work and the strange things that happened to you while you were there that you may have felt were not part of a normal job.
Oh, that would be almost every day.
Oh, yeah. When you start.
On an everyday basis, I saw many abnormal incidents to my coworkers. I saw Devra screaming loudly, ridiculing them, demeaning them in character, making them cry. I saw her take away things that she had given to employees, requests, just strange requests of things that you do.
So
Speak against another employee.
Constant.
behind their back.
Exactly.
Character assassination we're talking about.
Right. Yeah.
In the next excerpt, Kathleen talks about her paychecks bouncing and the fact that Miss West lived very extravagantly, extensive amounts of wine, and Miss West would assert that the Ascended Masters had told her that this is how they wanted her to live. These being the fictitious Ascended Masters that exist only in Miss West's mind. Kathleen goes on to say that her job was to keep Miss West happy, and if Miss West was not happy, nobody was happy.
Did you always get paid on time?
I always got paid on time. Whether the checks were good were a whole nother issue. The funds were not always available in the account, and it's gotten worse.
All right. Whilst funds were not available to you and maybe other employees, I know from my time there that people had to wait 2 or 3 weeks in some cases. What about Devra West's lifestyle in the house?
Oh, she lived very extravagantly. Yeah, she ate only gourmet food, expensive food, which had to be hand selected, an extensive amount of wine, which she consumed 1 to 2 bottles a day on a daily basis, every day.
And is your experience of this that this was all paid by the charity?
Yes.
Yeah.
She stated many times that this is the way the masters wanted her to live,
Okay.
and that she deserved to live amongst beautiful things.
Okay. So you were the house manager that was trying to coordinate the house all the time and keep
Yes.
her in the fashion she'd become accustomed to.
Yes. My job was to keep Devra happy. If
Oh,
Devra wasn't happy, nobody was happy.
In the next excerpt, Kathleen talks about the brainwashing, the conditioning behaviour that she considered unacceptable, it coming from Miss West, Jack West and Anandra, they being the senior members of the cult at the time and responsible for breaking the new employees.
would you say that there was a lot of mental abuse going on?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. A
To
lot
yourself?
of mind control.
And
In the beginning they tried, but they realized that it just wasn't an acceptable behavior for me.
they meaning, I guess, Devra West, Jack West,
Yes.
and Zanandra,
Yes.
the inner circles, I call them.
Yeah.
In this excerpt, Kathleen speaks to the fact that Miss West was looking to buy a piece of land up at Flathead Lake for $15.8 million, even though there were no monies available in Victor, Montana for her to pay the staff's wages with, the florist bill with, her dry cleaning bill.
She was interested in purchasing some $15.8 million land through Sandy Richardson, who's a real estate agent up at Flathead Lake.
Wow.
There was no money to make the payroll or pay her credit cards or her dry cleaner bills or the florist bills or people I dealt with on a daily basis that I had to speak with.
In the next excerpt, Kathleen speaks to the fact that she believes that this is definitely a cult that she's stumbled into, and speaks to some of the evidence she's witnessed about Miss West using mind control and conditioning to extract money from employees and students, and refers to what happened on Miss West's birthday and how each was invited to make out a check to Miss West.
Devra, Anandra, and Esther Michaels. They performed some type of a ceremony,
Which was?
session thing. Ritual. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Cult activity.
So
Definite.
your opinion would be that she's running a cult
Yes.
and using mind control to
Yes.
dominate the membership, if you like.
Oh yeah.
Is there evidence that she's trying to extract money from the membership?
Oh yes.
What have you seen and what techniques does she use?
The most recent technique was for her birthday. They were drawn up a tiny little check that was blank that was made out to the celebration of Devra's birthday, and they were to state how much of the check they were going to make out to Devra.
Wow.
Yeah, to Devra, not to
Not
the
to Divine
family.
Unity.
No, it was it was in celebration of Devra West.
Okay.
To review the rest of this material, please move on to the next YouTube video in this series.